Raising achievement matters. It matters for individuals and it matters for society. In Britain, the returns to skill, the economic benefits of having skill, are amongst the highest in the world. If you have a degree, in Germany, you will earn 4% more than if you don't. In America, it's 7% for males and 10% for females. In Britain, it's 14%. So over your career, if you have a degree, you will earn 14% more than you would if you didn't have a degree. The more educated you are, the longer you live, and the healthier you are. Now, obviously, finding out the impact of education on longevity takes a bit of a time to do because you have to wait for people to die before you can work out the impact of education. But the most recent data we have suggests that an extra year of education adds a year and a half to life. For society, with high levels of education, you have lower criminal justice costs, you have lower healthcare costs, and increased economic growth. If we could raise student achievement from where the average kids are right now and raise them up to where the top 1/6 of our students are, over 30 years, the extra growth in the economy and the extra taxes those people were paying because they were earning more money would make the whole of compulsory education free of charge. Investments in education generally bring back huge dividends. So education is actually going to become very much more important over the next 20 years than it has been in the last 20 years. And it's not the old-style 19th century education that we're quite good at. It's not the drilling and skilling that our national curriculum tests test. It's the ability to solve novel problems. Seymour Papert said, there is only one 21st century skill, and that is the ability to act intelligently when you're faced with a situation for which you have not been specifically prepared. And that's the challenge for us. Nobody wanted to be a nanotechnologist or a web designer 10 years ago. The jobs you are preparing your students for do not exist yet. So how do you do that? How do you prepare people for jobs that you cannot imagine? The answer is you have to teach these skills of expert communication, expert problem solving, expert thinking, and complex communication. So we do need education more than ever, but not of the kind that often gets emphasized when we focus on testing. Why have we made such bad policy over the last 30 years? The answer is because we've been looking in the wrong place for the answers. I talk about the 3 generations of school effectiveness research. So generation 1 is raw results. We've been forcing schools now to publish their results for almost 30 years. And what you see is some schools get good results and some schools get bad results. Conclusion, schools make a difference. Yeah? And the whole debate, the whole discourse around school choice is there are good schools and there are bad schools, there are league tables, and you can work out which schools you should send your kids to. But people said, hang on a minute, where are all the successful schools? Where are all the unsuccessful schools? Yeah, if you look at that research, what do you need to make your school into a good school? Well, you need to do 3 things, basically. Yeah? 1, get rid of the boys. Because girls' schools do better than mixed schools, who in turn do better than all boys' schools. 2nd, become a Catholic school, apparently. Catholic schools seem to get better results than Church of England schools, in turn get better results than county schools. But thirdly, and most importantly, what you have to do is to move your school into a nice leafy suburban area. That will have more impact than anything else. Of course, the fact that that's stupid because we know that it's not the schooling that's causing that, it's actually the clientele. It's the population being served. And it turns out that when you control for demographics, when you compare like with like, you find that schools don't make much of a difference. What's really interesting is that the OECD's latest data, this is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. These are hard-nosed economists in Paris who have these national tests, international tests. When you compare private schools with publicly funded schools in Britain, the gap between their results in favor of the private schools is bigger than in any other developed country. But once you control for social class, once you control for the fact that their kids are different, in fact, the gap is reversed. children make more progress in state schools than they do in private schools. That's not a well-known fact, is it? So actually, if you had the choice, you'd be better off, on average, sending your kid to a state school than a private school. And then you can use all that money that you've saved to pay for a private tutor so your child does even better. Schools don't make a difference, by and large. That's not true in all countries. It is true in England. If you take the differences between schools in the proportion of kids getting 5 A stars to Cs, 93% of that difference is caused by differences in what the children knew when they started at the school, or their social class. 7% is the school effect. Only 7% of the difference between those raw results is caused by the school. Schools don't make much of a difference. However, when you do careful value-added analyses, how much did children know when they started, how much did they know when they finished, you find that actually schools don't make a difference, but classrooms do. It doesn't matter which school you go to, it matters very much which classrooms you're in that school. An effective school is actually little more than a school full of effective classrooms. And what we discovered using these value-added studies is that the variability at the classroom level is 4 times the variability at the school level. If you are in one of the most effective classrooms, you will learn in 6 months what children in the average classroom will take a year to learn, and if you're in one of the least effective classrooms, that same learning will take you 2 years. There's a 4-fold difference in the speed of learning in the most effective and the least effective classrooms, which has prompted a search for what are the factors involved. Interestingly, it's not class size, it's not setting, it's not streaming, it's not even how the teachers group what the kids are doing. It's actually just what the teacher is doing. And it's taken us an incredibly long time to get to this point. The policies we've been pursuing in the past have broadly been based on the idea that teachers are a commodity. It turns out that's wrong. It turns out that teacher variability and teacher quality is the most crucial impact on student achievement. So we have a classic labor supply issue. Yeah, we could actually sack all the teachers we've got and start again with better ones. Ronald Reagan tried it with the air traffic controllers in America. It worked reasonably well there. The problem is that there's no evidence that better pay brings in better teachers. There's no evidence that there's better people out there who can't get in because we make them do a PGCE. People coming in through the graduate teacher programs generally are no better and sometimes quite a lot worse than people coming in through PGCE routes. So, let me rehearse the argument so far. Higher educational achievement is an economic priority for our future prosperity. The only way to improve levels of achievement is by investing in teachers, making teachers better. And the only way to do that is to work with the teachers we've got already in post, what my colleague Marnie Thompson calls the love the one you're with strategy. Yeah? So for me, professional development is not a nice perk for us to give to teachers so that they can actually have a bit of downtime rather than being teaching the whole time. Professional development is the only way that we can actually ensure that there's money in the economy to pay for our pensions when we retire. So this is a matter of economic survival, not just of being nice to teachers. The problem is that not all professional development is equally effective. So although we've seen that we can make a difference, we haven't done it very sustainably, very rigorously. We tend to go for the things that are easy to do rather than the things that make a difference.